Moving towards the next section, so we have kept it under the theme of sectoral engines of growth, where we are covering the agriculture, industry and services. So chapter 6 talks about the agriculture and food management, and it says that there is shift in challenge. Now we have to move beyond the food availability. We have already achieved more than 350 metric million ton of food grain production. The horticulture production also surpassed the overall food grain production. But if you see the average GVA growth from financial year 20 to 24, the overall agriculture sector growth hasn't been in line with the overall economic growth. For example, economy is growing around 6 to 7%, but the average growth for the agriculture sector was 4.7%, whereas the livestock sector and fishing and aquaculture sector is comparatively growing faster as compared to agriculture sector. Also, it says that we need to focus on the productive growth. We need to focus on yield, efficiency. We need to go for the better integration of the technology that can actually provide better income security to the farmers, that can reduce the input cost for the farmers, and that can also lead to better climate resilience in the agriculture. Also, it called for various policy considerations related to the ethanol pricing and the cropping incentives. For example, it says that there is need for careful calibration of incentives is required to avoid unintended concentration across crops. For example, let's suppose if sugarcane is one of the crop with the help of which we can produce ethanol, and if there is more demand of ethanol, farmer will be motivated to grow more sugarcane. Why? Because sugarcane will yield better prices because there is demand by the ethanol industry. But this is a water intensive crop and that can jeopardize our climate goals. Also, ethanol expansion to be pursued that support both energy security and food and nutritional security. We should promote those crops that is helping in achieving our energy security needs as well as our food security needs. It is impacting neither of that. Also, aligning fertilizer use with the agroeconomic needs based on the availability of various nutrients in the soil. Also, a calibrated approach to crop diversification, that it should reflect the choices based on the climate, rainfall and the local needs of the people. It should reflect the changes in the lifestyle of the people, demand of those food grains or the crops. Also, if you see the sectoral overview, agriculture and allied sector, they are the backbone of the food security, and that is also key for the inflation control. Why? Because if there will be consistently high food inflation, that is going to impact the overall inflation. But the major concern is the poor productivity that we have. For example, if you see this data of the Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India and FAO, be it for rice, wheat, maize, soybean or cotton, consistently our productivity is much less as compared to the global average or the country who is having the highest productivity. Also, the land fragmentation, for example, per capita land availability is 1.08 hectare as per Agri Census 2015-16. That further limits the chances of mechanization, that further cripples in achieving the overall economy of scale. So these are the areas that needs policy intervention, and government is intervening with the help of these support measures. For example, policy and institutional support in the form of different missions related to food security, oil seeds, etc. For input support, government is providing soil health card, fertilizer subsidy, Kisan Credit Card scheme. Under fertilizer subsidy, we have the urea based subsidy, we have the nutrient based subsidy, Kisan Credit Card scheme that provides short term loans. Earlier limit was 3 lakh rupees, it is expanded to 5 lakh rupees in last year's budget. Custom hiring sector, that is helping in mechanization. So we can't go into much detail of these measures because that will take a lot of time, but these are the income support measures that is helping in input support measures that is helping in reducing the input cost. Along with that, income support measures, for example, Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, under which 6,000 rupees is provided in 3 equal installments under for all the land holding farmers, and there are several exclusion categories. For the example, people who have filed the ITRs in the last financial year, they will not be able to get the benefits of the PM Kisan. So that is augmenting the income of the farmer. Similarly, minimum support price, that is a price support measure in case the private market prices falls below this MSP prices. Pradhan Mantri Man Dhan Yojana, etc. So there are different support measures for the whole supply chain, be it for the seed, be it for irrigation, be it for fertilizer, be it for marketing, be it for the storage in the form of Kisan Rail or the grams, etc. So with the help of which government is thinking to ensure that that the overall yield and the productivity can be increased for the agriculture. Similarly, for the services, we are moving from stability to new frontiers. This particular services is contributing around 55% to the GDP. We are witnessing a structural shift that from a stabilizer, it is becoming a growth engine. Also, there are various innovation hubs. There are various innovations that are being done by the services sector. There are better competitive products that are coming with the help of new technological innovations. That is leading to digital knowledge-based services and export driver. For example, global service competitiveness is happening. That is leading to productivity growth. High value added services are coming. For example, if you see the software services, that has seen an increase from financial year 16 to 20. The professional and management consultancy, that has also witnessed a leap forward from financial year 23-25. Be it the other areas for space and oceans, for example, our in space, etc. The private agents, the private companies are further motivated to be part of the space and ocean exploration. From some of the foreign clients are also taking services from our ISRO, etc. for sending their commercial launches, etc. So NSA, IL, etc. their revenue has improved significantly. The PPPs, in the PPP mode, we are exploring the ocean, etc. So global service trade expanding faster than the goods. India is also major service exporter, especially for the IT, BPM and the global capability centers, where also we have seen an increase from financial year 19 to 24. There has been 17.5% growth in domestic tourist visit in 2024. Also, Gen AI, next generation AI startups, you can see that there has been increase in that also. So in the new age technologies also, we are witnessing an increase. India is coming with the innovated products. Then industries next leap. For example, if you see the global manufacturing context, there has been an uneven global recovery, especially after the various disruptions that were being witnessed. Now the shift is toward the high tech, resilient value chain products. China still remains the global cost and scale benchmark. Domestic industrial performance, manufacturing is showing resilience. A structural shift is underway. Formalization, technology adoption is being done, but the pace is slow. Core industries support industrial momentum. Overall industries are being supported by the core industries like electricity, refinery, etc. Also, if you see the sustained momentum in real manufacturing GVA growth, especially in the later part of quarter second of the financial 26, real industry gross value added, that has been also sustainably good. Then if across different core industries for the cement, coal, finished steel and the pharmaceutical, etc., we are witnessing a consistent growth, although there has been some cases and some areas of the concern. Now, if you see the policy structure, there has been various initiatives that government took to support this industry. PLI scheme, production linked incentive scheme, where, as we said, that it is providing support in the form of the incentives based on the incremental sales of the company. National manufacturing mission, that has made a target to increase the overall contribution of the manufacturing sector in the GDP. Industrial corridors are being built with the proper infrastructure, with the help of which the companies can come and they can start the production. Here they are following the government is following plug and play model. Logistical reforms are being done. National logistical policy came. Then other reforms that are being taken to ensure that the overall logistics cost as a percentage of GDP is getting reduced. So now the focus is on ecosystem building, not firm level protection. But MSME is still the weak link because challenges are related to the credit access, lack of proper awareness, lack of proper technology, lack of proper market integration. And government did various reforms. For example, they rationalize the MSME classification criteria in last year budget, but still there is a strategy that is needed. For example, there is need for scaling of the MSMEs. Earlier there was issue of the dwarfism, that deliberately they were keeping themselves low so that they does not lose the benefits related to MSME. But now there is need for scaling MSME. They also need to be integrated with the global value chain so that their products are export competitive and they can be exported. Also, there is need for reducing cost of capital instead for raising tariffs. And also, if you see the improvement that India has done across different areas as per World Intellectual Property Organization, that is also showing the overall growth of the industry. This is again one of the main questions that you people can write from the topics or the chapters that we have covered. Moving towards our next chapters. So chapter number 9 talks about the investment and infrastructure. It says that infrastructure led investment is key growth lever that creates crowding effect. Whenever government is doing the spending, for example, effective capital expenditure, it has increased steadily since the financial year 15 till financial year 26. So when the government is doing high capital expenditure, that also motivates the privates to invest more, what we discussed in the first topic. And that is the reason it brings more efficiency in the cost reduction. For example, whenever the capital is being invested, that is also done in better technologies, and that will lead to reduction in the cost of the product. Also, higher long-term trajectory that is needed for the growth sustainability. If you see, for progress in the physical connectivity, we have improved significantly for the highway network, for high-speed corridors, also the average commissioning of the railway network per year. So all the infrastructure sector, be it rail, roadways, ports, airport, etc., there has been a significant improvement across them. Similarly, for the power sector, whether it is the generational capacity or the transformation capacity addition, all have significantly improved along with the improvement in the daily average power supply. Now, why infrastructure is central to growth? Because it helps in addressing the supply side bottlenecks. Earlier, there was a raw material that was not able to reach to the industry properly, but if we built a proper road, we connected it with proper railway network or air cargo, that has helped in addressing that issue of the supply chain bottleneck. Also, it helps in lowering the logistics and transaction costs, that further makes the products more competitive. Also, that it leads to a strong multiplier effects. For example, one of the sectors, if that is improving, that further complements or supplements the other sectors. So if investment and infrastructure building will be done, that will make them more competitive. One of the sector is growing, that will be visible. The impact of that will be visible across different sectors. And infrastructure is treated as a productive capital, not as the fiscal burden. Along with that, if you see, for the expansion of the Jal Jeevan Mission, that is providing the potable water facility, tap water facility, 80% of the rural households now have access to tap water under Jal Jeevan Mission. And also the financing infrastructure, if you see the key trends, that we have shifted from budget only financing to PPP model, asset monetization infrastructure, and innovative instruments like InvITs, REITs, etc., real estate investment trust or infrastructure investment trust. We have moved towards that. Private participation is improving, but still it is uneven across different sectors, and if there will be more private participation, that will bring more efficiency and productivity. Chapter 10 talks about the environment and climate change, that how we can build a resilient, competitive and development driven India. So if you see, the solar power per gigawatt, wind power per gigawatt, and nuclear power. So India has been focusing on the nuclear energy, and that was also one of the major highlight of the Honorable Prime Minister's speech on 15th August 2025, that we are going to significantly improve our nuclear energy. So the survey is saying that there is a need for the balanced approach, that we need to bring our climate strategy with proper mitigation and adaptation measures, but it should not squeeze the overall industrial competitiveness. We should not overburden our industries to comply with the environmental norms. There should be a balance. There should be a sustainable movement towards achieving that environmental norms, because if we will overburden our industries to comply with the environmental norms, their competitiveness, their growth might cripple. Similarly, there are various other environmental governance reforms that are mentioned. For example, Parvesh 3.0 single window clearance, that provides for digital approval and post clearance monitoring. National wide uniform guidelines are there, streamlined mining regulations, third party environmental rules. Along with that, other reforms that you can read from this particular section. Recently, Shanti Act also came, that enables the private and state participation, that also creates the liability framework and protects the victim compensation, and that will boost the manufacturing, R&D and innovation in the nuclear energy generation. Also, the climate change framing, India is highly climate vulnerable, low per capita emitter, need a development aligned climate pathway for both adaptation and the mitigation. Also, climate finance, that India need massive scaling, but challenge is high cost of the capital and limited concessional finances or the low cost finances are not available. Carbon market and innovative instruments like carbon credit, etc., they needs to be emphasized, they needs to be promoted more. Also, for the regulation and governance, we should shift from uniform environmental mandate towards the risk-based sector-specific regulation, streamlining approvals via the digital platform. Then the next chapter is chapter 11, that is talking about the education and health. It is saying that the human capital outcomes, that is better education, better skill, that is multi-factor driven. Public spending is necessary condition, but that is not the sufficient condition. It requires behavioral change, health, education uptake. Until and unless people will be motivated to get better skills, better education, only the enrollment in the school, only the enrollment in the skilling facilities is not going to help. Also, private participation will further improve the efficiency and productivity of these sections, and there are need for the institutional linkages with better coordination and delivery systems that can further improve the overall delivery of these sections. Also, if you see key achievements of the national education policy, for example, achieving 100% gross enrollment ratio by 2030, achieving 50% of gross enrollment ratio by 2035 for the higher education. So there has been various reforms that has been taken for the education sector, and that has significantly improved the participation of marginalized section, and that has also provided infrastructure and other things in the unserved and underserved areas. Similarly, for the healthcare, there has been significant drop in IMR. There has been some significant improvement in the life expectancy of the people. But there are certain concerns. First of all, the survey is highlighting uneven distribution of secondary schools. Survey is also calling for tackling rising digital addictions. People are addicted to watching reels, YouTube shorts, and also various mental health problems like anxiety, stress that is becoming more frequent. So government has taken various initiatives for better healthcare lifestyle, Telemanas facility, Nimhans, or that with the help of technological interventions, how the health facilities can reach the last person who is unserved or underserved. So the key focus areas under the education is improved enrollment ratios. Focus is shifting from learning outcomes. Foundation literacy and numeracy is the focus area, and that is also visible from the better ISR NGO Pratham report that gives us an idea about the learning capabilities of the person. That is also showing some kind of improvement because of better literacy and numeracy of the person. Structural reforms, for example, NEP 2020 implementation, that has led to school skill industry linkages, but because it was focusing on the vocational learning and earning while learning itself. Use of digital platforms, for example, Diksha, etc., or PM Swayam Prabha, etc., for providing education. But the main challenge is enrollment is not leading to learning. That enrollment is increasing, but until unless there will be motivation and interest from the students, it will not improve the learning outcome, and that is one of the major highlight. For health, we are moving from treatment to prevention. That we have expanded the insurance coverage. We had also improved the access of the healthcare. The number of PHCs, CHCs has significantly improved, but there are certain emerging challenges. For example, the burden of non-communicable diseases like diabetes, then other obesity, etc., is increasing, and also digital addiction is a new challenge that is being witnessed. Behavioral and the private sector role, health outcomes are influenced by lifestyle choices, diet, physical activity. If the people have sedentary lifestyle, they will face difficulty in making their life very healthy. With the better lifestyle change, with the better facilities that are available, for example, food delivery apps are there. People are dependent on the outside food where the whatever the ingredients that are being used, they are not of good quality, etc. That is also leading to various new form of non-communicable diseases. Education and health require societal participation, not state action alone. Until and unless there will be societal participation, until and unless me and you will understand that what we have to eat and what we have to avoid, government cannot help at all. So that is the reason in the first instance itself, when we were discussing the things, that we said that to be on that consistent growth part, we need participation of the state, privates as well as individuals. Then chapter 2 talks about the employment and the skill development, that the challenges that we need beyond unemployment, that we need to focus on the lifelong learnings of the people. So if you see the labor market dynamics, labor force participation rate has increased, unemployment rate has reduced in financial year 26 in the last months. The female labor force participation rate has increased from to 23.3% in 27-18 to 41.7% in 23-24. Also fall in female unemployment rate to 3.2% in 23-24. Also, labor code has significantly improved the compliance with the privates, that has lead to boosting formalization, enhanced social security. Female participation is also improving because there are industries that were earlier prohibited, the working hours were regulated. All that has been now rationalized. Growth in income of the people, ease of doing business is there, and also that is leading to employment expansion. Now the major challenge is about the job quality, informality. For example, one of the major highlight is the gig economy. Okay, the concerns of the gig economy has been highlighted in the survey itself, and skill job mismatch that is leading to underemployment. For example, some of the people who are graduate, still they are working as the delivery executives. Now the key constraints that we are witnessing at this point of time is the skill mismatch between education output and the labor market demand. So the labor market is showing gradual improvement. Some of the features are better labor force participation rate and other indicators that has improved. Along with that, as of now, what are the suggestions from the economic survey? The job creation strategy, that catalyzing job growth focus should be on manufacturing, construction, services like tourism and logistics, and MSME is one of the key job creators. So we can focus on these areas. Also skill ecosystem overview, multiple schemes are there, that leads to fragmentation, that leads to poor coordination, and that leads to loss of resources because of the overlapping benefits of the scheme. So there should be all the schemes should not be made in silos. There should be better inter-ministerial coordination. Also, skill supply often certificate oriented, not market oriented. We are not understanding the demand of the market. Market is demanding Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, but these skills are not readily available in the market. Also, reform direction, focus should be on national credit framework so that the people who are earning credit, with the help of which they can get better employment. Apprenticeship facilities, school to work transition, industry linked skilling, these are the focus area. Survey is emphasizing on the point that skill must follow jobs, not precede them blindly. Youth and skilling is again the focus area. For example, youth unemployment, that remains a concern. There is need for modular skills, on the job training, lifelong learning. Then chapter 13, that focuses on the rural development and social progress, that it shows the structural shift that we have witnessed from, for example, India's progress against poverty. Extreme poverty rate is down to 5.3% in 22-23 as per the revised international poverty line of $3.0 per day World Bank. For infrastructure, we have significantly improved the rural connectivity. We have provided the tap water connection. We have also built more than 2.9 crore houses. Also, the tech-driven initiatives like Swamitva, that is providing the property cards with the village maps. Also, Namo Drone Didi scheme, that is empowering the women. And there are various other schemes and the benefits related to the skill development, participatory budgeting, and also improving the overall social capital. So all this is helping in overall rural development and social progress, and that is showing the rural transformation, the structural shift that we are witnessing, the empowerment and the diversification that we are witnessing, the partnership, for example, state, market, community, the partnership between all these three. Beyond welfare, that focus is on the growth, not only on the welfare, that the people are also becoming self-dependent. Also, poverty and inequality trends we have already discussed, that has significantly improved. Also, the structural changes is in the form of declining dependence on the agriculture, rise of rural non-farm employment, self-help groups and rural enterprises, the number of food processing industry, etc., that are increasing there. Role of institutions like self-help groups, they are providing the credit needs, social capital, the trust, etc., between the people is increasing. Panchayats are also helping in planning, service delivery. So social justice is as one of the growth enabler, because we are also focusing on the tribal development with the help of programs like aspirational district program. We are focusing on the underdeveloped or undeveloped areas, and inclusion of the vulnerable groups is also one of the focus areas. Also, social capital improves the productivity, participation and the outcomes of whatever the measures that are being taken. Our next chapter is chapter 14, evolution of AI ecosystem in India. So artificial intelligence can act as the development multiplier, and for India it can significantly improve the productivity, service delivery and governance to provide the citizen-centric governance. And India's advantage is that it has large database, digital public infrastructure, for example, better connectivity of internet, and also the cost effective talent is there that can actually help us in achieving the benefits, harnessing the potential of the AI ecosystem. But there is some dilemma related to various trade-offs that are there. For example, frontier versus application, regulation versus innovation, etc. So this needs to be addressed. Now, what is the development oriented AI approach? That focus is on, should be on agriculture, health, education, public service delivery, and we should avoid copy paste of big tech centric AI models. Rather, we should tweak it according to the needs of the India, according to the needs of the Indian market and Indian people. AI should be for inclusion, not exclusion. Unserved or underserved areas and marginalized section, they should be also made part of the overall AI ecosystem. Also, the human capital for the AI, the gaps are advanced AI research talent is not there, interdisciplinary skills are not there. Solutions is that we should focus on the STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. Along with that, the research institutions needs to be further promoted, especially, for example, India is contributing around 0.6 to 0.7% of its GDP on the research and development, and majority of this is coming from the government or the public expenditure is there. So private sector needs to be also taking the responsibility of this research. Also, industry academia collaboration can improve, and that can further provide the solutions with the help of artificial intelligence. Also, for the governance, data and institution, there is need for data quality, ethical frameworks, and also institutional coordinations for the better use of the AI ecosystem. But there are certain risks associated with the bias, job displacement and concentration power, and that is the reason we need to emphasize on the responsible AI with the better human oversight. Also, the phased roadmap for the AI can be that first we need to focus on the adoption and the diffusion, then we can focus on the capability building, and then we can focus on the global leadership. That will be the long-term goal. The 15th chapter talks about the urbanization, that urban challenges to move beyond rapid urbanization, because if you talk about the urban governance, the service delivery, etc., there is weak capacity and there is fragmentation, and that also leads to the poor quality of services that are there in the urban areas, be it the poor AQI, be it the poor availability of the potable water, be it the poor sanitation facilities, etc. Okay. Also, limited fiscal and functional autonomy is there and with the economic agencies, and that is the reason we need to provide the institutional capacity with the proper planning and the plugging of the institutional gaps. And why actually urbanization matters for the growth? Because cities are the engines of the productivity, innovation, job creation, etc. And if they will not give proper resources, they will not provide proper facilities, all this productivity, innovation and job creation will be impacted. Also, India's urban population share is rising steadily. However, the economic returns to the urbanization remains suboptimal. The key diagnosis is that India is urbanizing without commensurate city capacity and capability. The governance deficit, that is the central constraint. The main problem is the urban local bodies. They have the issue of the functionaries as well as functionality. They have the issue of the poor fiscal autonomy. They have the weak administrative capacity. They have the dependence on the state government for the funds. But along with that, even when the funds are there, the overall functioning of the overall functioning is not at the optimal level. Cities actually lack the economic agency despite the responsibility for the service delivery. Cities manage growth without the power to shape it. This is the current situation. So the land and housing, mobility, sanitation and waste management, these are the areas which are the binding constraints in the Indian cities. So we need to focus on the informality as the urban outcome. Informality is not a solution or not a failure of the citizen. It is an outcome of regulatory overload, exclusionary urban planning, slums, street vending, informal housing are the adaptive responses. Because if there will not be proper jobs, obviously they will see more street vendors, because people have to earn for fulfilling their basic needs. So from eradication of informality, there should be integration of informality. How? These street vendors can be further brought into the formal economy. economy. The civic order without a social contract is there. Key argument is that there is a weak link between the tax paid versus services received. Even after paying the taxes, people are getting poor roads. That further leads to low compliance. People are hesitant to pay the tax, or they are negligent to pay the tax. That also leads to weak civic responsibility and trust deficits. So beyond infrastructure, what we need: urban safety, public spaces, social trust, cultural vibrancy, as well as citizen participation. Cities they must be livable, they not be merely functional. This is what I was saying, that what are the reforms that are needed. So we need to empower the urban local bodies with the fiscal autonomy, professional staffing, and we also need to focus on reform land use regulations. That, for example, land pooling policy, etc., that were there, they needs to be properly implemented for their success. Also, we need to integrate the transport planning. We also need to formalize the informal sector through the legal recognition and the service access. Now, next chapter is the 16th chapter. The main idea is that India must move beyond import substitution to strategic resilience, and ultimately to strategic indispensability, building on stat capacity, competitive industry, and citizen participation. It is under two parts. So the part 1 says that from import substitution to strategic resilience and strategic dispensability. For example, we should cover this in 3 stages. Under first, import substitution, we can replace the imports domestically, the basic imports. Then strategic resilience, that we will be securing critical inputs and supply chains. And then strategic indispensability, that will become unavoidable in the global value chain, that no one can neglect us, no one can avoid us. Now there will be a tied framework for this strategic indigenization. Not all sector need same treatment. We need to prioritize some of the sectors who are in need of support, for example critical minerals, etc. Decisions about what not to protect are as important as what to protect. For example, there are certain sectors under the PLI who could not take benefits properly, like battery storage, etc. They can be focused more. Also, the input cost reduction strategy. India suffers from high cost of capital, high energy cost, logistical inefficiencies are there. So if we will focus on that, it will help us in reducing the overall cost. Also, raising tariffs on inputs, they act as a tax on exports, and that further weakens the competitiveness. So the preferred strategy can be lower cost of capital and logistics, not the higher tariff walls. Manufacturing as a disciplining system. For example, manufacturing forces discipline on the state capacity, logistics, labor regulation, infrastructure equality. Unlike services, manufacturing cannot bypass the weak institution, and when manufacturing will be forcing discipline, it will lead to improvement of overall institutions. Then part 2 talks about building strategic resilience. For example, role of state, private sectors and the citizens, that how all these 3 can come and they can help us in improving the overall underlying issues, and binding overall constraints can be addressed. So regulation can be there, but they can be for the capability, not for the control. Where we should shift from inspection from control. There should be trust based compliance. There should be trust between privates, governments and the individuals. So deregulation is not the withdrawal of the state, but institutional capability is there in the action. Role of private sector, expected role from them is that they will be competing globally, they will invest in scale and productivity, they will also accept the import competition and they will support the MSME ecosystem. For citizen and social norms, state capacity is human system. It will depend on trust, compliance and civic responsibility. For example, if government is building infrastructure, proper upkeep of that is our responsibility. Paying our taxes regularly is our responsibility. So power is productive capacity into institutional quality into strategic concentration. That will bring the overall power.